That's Bjorn. And that's Roki. And all this damage, that's mostly them. Well, him too, but a lot of him. It's a lot of damage. Today, we're going to see if Bjorn has what it takes to become a samurai, or at least start samurai training. I definitely don't think so. In fact, I don't think I have what it takes either. So we're gonna see. But first, I need to shower because I'm busted. With the rise of the samurai in Japan came a new emphasis on military values. So all samurai trained in archery, physical combat, and a kind of spiritual and social discipline. Girls and boys were all trained to keep their feelings completely under wraps. There was a quote from a samurai that reads, "Of what use is it to allow the mind to concentrate on the moon and flowers, compose poems, and learn how to play musical instruments? Members of my household, including women, must learn to ride wild horses and shoot powerful bows and arrows." I mean, bows and arrows, same thing. But the arrows are what you shoot. But that's what they wrote. That's what that samurai wrote. I personally, Mizz Weed personally believes that, yeah, both have their uses, both have their values. I think concentrating on the moon and flowers probably makes you better at riding wild horses, but what would I know? I'm not a samurai. I'm just a boss. Anyway, by the 14th century, Japan's warrior society very much actually represented resembled feudal Europe, where the shogun rules with the help of daimyos, warrior lords, who control land and feudal samurai. The samurai support the daimyos, who support the shogun, who is the military leader. Sounds an awful lot like the feudal triangle. Worldwide medieval Illuminati confirmed. Oh my God. Anyway, over time, the position of the shogun actually weakens as the daimyo becomes increasingly powerful. Just like in medieval Europe, where the feudal lords grew more powerful and then thus the position of the king was weakened. What crazy, what? That's not that crazy. Political systems come into power and then decline all over the world. Again, and like I've said before, the medieval world was actually a lot more interconnected than we previously suspected, so. By the 15th century, Japan totally fell into total, absolute, complete chaos. Daimyos warred with one another for land and power. Samurai fought fiercely on behalf of their daimyos, and so it was all just kind of chaos, much like China during the Warring States period, which of course happened way before that, but still. Yeah. That all settled down in 1603 when Tokugawa Tokugawa Ieyasu came into power and was the most powerful of all of the shogun and kept Japan at peace for around 250 years. So the samurai way of life is pretty interesting. They were expected to train in the way of the horse and the bow. The art of swordsmanship actually becomes more powerful and more important later. I know we always associate samurai with like kendo and the swords, but archery was actually the biggest component, and horse riding actually the biggest component of samurai battle. Starts really young. Young archers are apprenticed to archery masters who teach them this kind of mental, physical technique. They practice until they can shoot so well they can shoot without thinking. It's just this kind of repetitive movement that can happen immediately. They had to learn how to force the enemy, how to make the first move in swordsmanship, and how to stay out of range of an enemy sword. and fight in tight spaces. So they practice the same things again and again until they can do it without thinking. It's that, I think it was it Jet Li, Bruce Lee? I don't remember. I think it was Bruce Lee who said that he wasn't afraid of somebody who had practiced 10,000 different kicks and punches, or 10,000 different kicks, but the same kick 10,000 times. It's like that. They practiced things again and again and again until they got it right. With Bjorn, I've practiced training him again and again and again, and he's still not really getting it. We'll see. He's focused, and I'll show you. He's very focused, but does he have physical discipline? Probably not. Another important aspect, at least for me, is the hair. Samurai would shave the top of their head, but I don't think samurai women did that. But samurai men most certainly did. They would shave the top of their head. And now, again, like I said in the Heian Kyo video, I will do a lot of things for you children, but I will not do that. So, I'm gonna just pull the top of my hair back really tightly. Ow. And then I'm going to secure it with bobby pins. Yes, Bjorn, I'll do your hair in just a second. Ooh, nice. Then they would put it up into a very stylized bun called a top knot. Not a messy bun, a very particular bun. The top knot is achieved by folding your hair very precisely and then leaving the bottom down. You can also achieve this top knot kind of thing if you have really long hair by pulling the hair up and then twisting it, wrapping it around your hand like so, and then twisting it really tightly and using it to kind of wrap around itself. I've twisted my hair up, and of course, I've got my samurai scrunchie. They did not use scrunchies, they would use a piece of rope. So, got my hair up into a top knot. Bjorn, let me get your ears. Bjorn's good. How you like it? No? No? Undisciplined. Well, let's keep going. So, I'm gonna have Bjorn come over here, and we are gonna start by thinking about the two different kinds of Buddhism most samurai adhered to. The first is Amida Buddhism, which is a type of Buddhism based off of an Indian prince named Amida. And Honen, one of the proponents of Amida Buddhism, believed that you could achieve enlightenment and reach the Pure Land by saying Amida's name over and over and over again, kind of like a mantra, something that is repeated to center yourself. People were supposed to say it up to 70,000 times a day. Bjorn, come here. Bjorn, come here. Good boy. Bjorn, sit. Bjorn, sit. Bjorn, sit. Sit. Sit, buddy. Good boy. Oh no. Bjorn, can you say Amida? No, he cannot, because he is a dog. So we're gonna try Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism was the other form of Buddhism, and samurai liked it a lot because it emphasizes discipline through meditation and self-control. The idea is you sit cross-legged, sitting up straight. Your neck is straight up. Oh, I'm not very good at this. And something is pulling up your head. Bjorn, can you sit up straight? Cool. Cool. You sit up straight and You allow your eyes to become half closed. You place your left hand on top of your right. Make a circle touching your thumbs. Then place your hands in your lap. Your legs are crossed. Take a deep breath. And out. And with your half closed eyes, you are supposed to clear your mind. Bjorn, are you listening? You're supposed to clear your mind and think about, well, what Zen samurai Buddhists did often was to think about something called a koan, which is a question that has no answer. And they would use that to focus themselves and achieve a state of awareness, but also deep calm. So, Bjorn, who truly is the goodest boy? And what does being a good boy even mean? I don't know if you heard that, but Bjorn took a deep breath, which is a good start. Now, let's see. Oh dear. It seems that Bjorn has just sort of decided to sleep. Buddy, do you feel enlightened? Do you feel focused? Oh, I love you too. He's not doing his best, but what's to be done? Oh, you're so cute. It's okay, you're not a good samurai. That's okay. I'm not very good at it either. You're probably going to be better at it than I am. Samurai were supposed to train constantly to be aware of the slightest movement around them so that they could be prepared for any attack. They would often tell stories of people who had been incredibly prepared in a time of attack, like a samurai woman who had been disturbed while writing by an attacker and used whatever she found around her, in this case, a wad of paper, to fling it in the attacker's face and then run away so that they could fight. So, I'm gonna train Bjorn to be constantly aware by pestering him. So, Bjorn, come here. So, after I play with him a little bit, but you can see he's very focused. No. Stay. Oh no, you got me. Dang it. He's really aware. He's really aware of wherever I am at any given moment. Probably because probably because he wants to play. But good job, Bjorn. He's passing that test. Maybe not so much meditation, but definitely he is aware of his surroundings. Good boy. Good samurai boy. Another highly important part of samurai life and samurai ritual were the rituals of the tea ceremony, also known as chador, chanoyu. I can't pronounce these words very well, sorry. It is the art of tea. Some people said, oh, that was to provide balance to their lives, to take them away from the battlefield, but that's not actually true. A bunch of my research says that samurai would actually practice the tea ceremony in order to gain additional focus, to be able to notice what was going on off and on the battlefield. And the tea ceremony was super structured. It wasn't just drinking tea. It involved a whole ritual and a whole process where hello Bubba, where the samurai had to follow a very strict set of steps and be able to determine with their eyes closed what kind of tea they were drinking. And also, they had to behave in a very particular way during the tea ceremony. And there were no mistakes, no do-overs. You couldn't just mess up in a tea ceremony. It was a big deal. So, if you did make a mistake, the lesson was to be able to artfully integrate that into the ceremony itself so that you were both observant and able to improvise quickly. So, Bjorn is playing with his Corona ball. But let's see if he'll take tea with me. The tea ceremony always involved green tea, matcha green tea. Oh boy, this is already going super well. Oh jeez. You would put a teaspoon of tea into the boiling water and then whisk it. I had a little whisk, but I don't know where it is. It's entirely possible Bjorn ate it. Oh, he's into this. That's cool. So, no, he just wants me to play. Once you have whisked the tea, generally, samurai would drink tea out of the same bowl. It would be passed around. However, this is full of water. Bjorn, would you like to sit? Bjorn, sit. Good boy. And now, would you like to take tea? During the tea ritual, the cup would be passed around and samurai would all take drinks from the same cup. That's super gross with a dog. They have really gross mouths full of bacterium and all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna say that was a pretty big success. Because Bjorn didn't spill the tea, even though I thought he was going to. And he even engaged in some light tea ceremony drinking with me. Oh, buddy. It's water. Again, it's water. The tea ceremony is super interesting, and all of its many steps and its emphasis on simplicity and elegance are pretty cool to watch. I highly recommend looking it up. Now, we are going to talk samurai fashion and then end with a discussion of the samurai moral code, also known as Bushido. Wow, green tea is really good. Coffee's still better. Before I talk about Bushido, a quick note about samurai fashion. Samurai dressed incredibly simply because they felt that being luxurious was not disciplined. So they had some pants, a top, pretty much it. Very simple, very basic colors. However, one of the cool things was the top knot of the hair, the shaved top part of the head, but also the wicker hats that some of them wore. This was because of their moral code, which I'm about to talk about, called Bushido. It was so important and such an intense, integral part of the samurai way of life that if you violated the 8 parts of this code, you were supposed to kill yourself, to commit ritual suicide in accordance with tradition. You could not disobey this moral code. So there became a kind of a fashion statement, loosely, of certain samurai wearing a basket type floppy hat, often made of wicker actually, so it wasn't so floppy, but a basket type hat over their face when they went out in town, so that if they had broken the code of Bushido or if they had done something wrong, they would not be recognized. I think I look great. Hey Bjorn! Bjorn! Do you want to try this on? Let's try that. Oh, no? But people are gonna see you, and they'll know if you make a mistake. I guess samurai fashion is not for Bjorn. Bummer. Any discussion of medieval Japanese samurai needs to talk about Bushido, which was the code that samurai held themselves to. Kind of like chivalry in medieval Europe. Oh my God, who said that? What? Whoa, crazy. Except more. Bushido had 8 parts to it, and it was such an important part of samurai life. Well, it governed every aspect of who they were, and it was extremely important that a samurai adopt these moral codes, these ways of being. The reason that I'm doing this video is, yes, okay, it's kind of silly to try and train my dog to be a samurai, especially because he's pretty bad at it. He just chewed up a chair. He lacks discipline. Poor guy. That's not his fault. Yes, it's silly, but I don't mean to be offensive. I don't mean to take the mickey out of somebody else's culture. I think that the reason in part that I was doing this, yes, to be silly, but also to show to a degree how intensely difficult it was to be a samurai. To be a member of the Japanese warrior class meant that your entire life was one of extreme discipline. Samurai in their training would go days without eating, which neither Bjorn nor I could do. They would go days without sleeping. They would walk barefoot in the snow, something Bjorn is quite good at, but I am not. And do all sorts of other physical tests of their own capabilities. They would train for ages, and they were also expected to be incredibly polite and incredibly well-behaved and super disciplined and focused at all times, because you never know when an attack could come, and you never know when you were being tested on your general personhood. It was an incredibly disciplined way of life that was meant to create a well-rounded intellectual powerhouse of a super soldier, basically. And yeah, it wasn't just fighting. It was extraordinary discipline, the kind of discipline that Bjorn and I definitely don't have, and the kind of focus that Bjorn and I definitely do not have. Bushido is an extraordinarily important part of this. And as I go through the different components of Bushido, the 8 key components of Bushido, I will determine whether or not Bjorn possesses any of them. The first, what are you doing? I think he's okay. The first is justice or righteousness. It's not just that they believed in being just and in being fair, though that was incredibly important. They believed that you had to have this kind of moral rectitude, this code of conduct that was extremely absolute and very well behaved all the time, unlike Bjorn. Okay, he's fine. A code of conduct that was extremely well behaved at all times. A samurai wrote about it and said that moral rectitude is the bone structure that gives firmness and stature to the samurai. Without righteousness and rectitude, again, meaning good behavior and proper behavior and a sense of conviction and righteousness, without that, no amount of training or study can create a samurai. So you've got to focus on being righteous, on justice, and on acting with certainty and accepting things as they come, which I think is really kind of cool and important given the times that we're in. Geez. The second is courage. Not just bravery, not just kind of wildly running into the battle, but showing true courage, sticking up for what you believe in and sticking up for other people. especially people who can't stick up for themselves. Also very important, do I think Bjorn has courage? Maybe. Jury's out on that one. He is still very young. And now he's on the couch. The third is mercy, that having love and compassion and empathy for all things is an essential component of Bushido. And to be affectionate and empathetic and merciful towards those who need it most is an extraordinarily important value for the samurai. The fourth, politeness, always being polite, which leads to the fifth, honesty and sincerity. You need to be honest in what you say and believe what you say. Always. You can't lie, you can't double deal. And again, the Bushido code was really strict. So it wasn't like you couldn't tell like little white lies either, like just little social nice lies. You had to be super honest all the time and really sincere in what you believed. So that comes from a lot of self-reflection. I don't know if Bjorn or I could ever do that, but he is pretty honest and he is pretty sincere. So yes for that one, but a no for politeness. The sixth value is honor. There was an intense fear of disgrace among samurai. They also valued being really patient. The saying went, true patience means bearing the unbearable. Something to think about in these crazy times of quarantine. Bjorn does not have this value at all. He is not honorable. Nor am I. I'm definitely not patient, and I've definitely told a couple lies in my life. So maybe it's something I can work on. Especially the patience part. Loyalty is the next one, the seventh value. Just like in feudal Europe, the samurai believed that they needed to be completely loyal to their daimyo and loyal to their code of conduct and loyal to anybody to whom they owed a debt. Paying back debts, big deal. Loyalty is Bjorn's specialty. He even follows me when I don't want him to, such as when I'm going to the restroom. So he gets that one for sure. The last value of Bushido is self-control, something neither Bjorn nor I have at all. You need to behave, according to Bushido, you need to behave to an absolute moral standard, something that transcends logic. Right is right, wrong is wrong, no gray areas. You also need to be mentally disciplined. You have to have the mental strength and focus to withstand anything, and the self-control to hold yourself back, to know when to pick your battles, that kind of stuff. Bjorn has no self-control at all. He will eat anything, like the chair over there that he... And I don't have great self-control, gonna be honest. If there's pudding, I'm gonna go for it. So, I don't know how well we're doing here. To recap, justice and righteousness, this unwavering sense of self, which Bjorn kind of has, and I guess I'm, something I could work on. Courage, that one's tough. I think Bjorn's got that one. Mercy. Yeah, I don't know. Politeness? Heck nah. Honesty and sincerity? Definitely. Honor? No, he does not care. Loyalty? Definitely. Self-control? Super no. Super no. And like I said, since Bushido was such a strict way of life and such an absolute way of life, Bjorn and I would definitely not have done well. Bjorn really wouldn't have done well. He's not very observant. But he's so cute. Yeah, bummer. As you go through the rest of your day, sweet chickensies, be sure to look this up. Look at chapter 21 of the TCI textbook online. There are so many resources. There are so many resources. Seattle has an Asian History Museum. There are so many resources online for you to look at this in more detail. Nat Geographic, National Geographic has a pretty solid video on YouTube. There are all kinds of awesome resources for you if you want to look into being a samurai. There aren't really that many resources if you want to train your dog to be a samurai. I think people realized that dogs don't make great samurai. If you think I'm wrong, email me. If I got something wrong, email me. You know I love being corrected. You know I need it. So yeah, as you go about the rest of your day, think about that Bushido code. Maybe you don't have to follow it totally absolutely, but what can you work on? Can you be a little more patient with yourself and with the people around you, especially during a time of quarantine? Can you try to have courage, even though things are scary? Can you be honest without being cruel? And can you show a little mercy and stick up for what you think is right? I think you totally can, because you're awesome. Yeah, it's Mizz Weed doesn't know anything and would have made a really bad samurai.